Long ago, in the ancient kingdom of Old Zaria, there stood a palace of red stone and gold that overlooked a mighty river. The kingdom was rich beyond imagination. Its markets overflowed with silk, ivory, spices, and shining jewels. Travelers came from distant lands just to see the beauty of Old Zaria. But beneath the wealth of the kingdom lived a secret older than the palace itself. And every whisper of that secret began with the same warning. Never bargain with river spirits. The king and queen of Old Zaria had waited many years for a child. When the queen finally gave birth to a son, the entire kingdom celebrated for 7 days and 7 nights. The child was named Obinna. But on the night of his birth, strange things happened. The palace fires turned blue. Dogs howled toward the river. And the royal midwife, after holding the baby in her arms, suddenly began to cry. When the queen asked what was wrong, the old woman only whispered, "This child carries a heart that does not belong to men." The king ordered her never to speak those words again. As Prince Obinna grew older, the people of Old Zaria began to fear him. Not because he was ugly. Not because he was weak. But because something terrible followed him everywhere he went. Flowers wilted after he touched them. Cooking fires died when he entered a room. Horses refused to let him ride them. Even children stopped laughing whenever the prince walked nearby. And wherever Obinna became angry, ash appeared. Black ash. Ash on tables. Ash on walls. Ash scattered across the floor like burnt remains from an invisible fire. The servants began calling him the Prince of Ashes. But never where he could hear. Prince Obinna himself did not understand what was happening to him. Strange whispers haunted his dreams at night. Sometimes he heard water flowing through the palace halls even when the floors were dry. And often, very late at night, he would awaken to hear a voice whispering from beyond the walls. "Come to the river." The queen loved her son deeply, but fear slowly filled her heart. One night, she followed the king beneath the palace into the forbidden dungeon tunnels. There, deep underground, behind iron gates taller than elephants, lived a monstrous emerald python. Its scales glimmered green like wet jewels in torchlight. Its enormous body coiled around the stone pillars of the chamber. And resting upon its head was an ancient golden crown covered in river pearls. The queen nearly screamed. The python opened its glowing eyes and stared directly at her. Not like an animal. Like a king. The king quickly pulled her away. "Why is that creature here?" she whispered in horror. The king's face turned pale. "Because if it escapes," he said quietly, "Old Zaria will drown." But the queen demanded the truth. And finally, the king revealed the secret that had poisoned their bloodline for generations. Long ago, during a terrible drought, one of their ancestors had begged the river spirits for power and wealth. In exchange, the spirits blessed Old Zaria with riches beyond imagination. But every blessing carries a price. The river spirit demanded one royal child every generation. On the child's 18th year, the river would return to claim what belonged to it. The queen felt her knees weaken. "No," she whispered. The king lowered his head in shame. "I tried to stop it," he said. "I imprisoned the spirit before Obinna was born." But far below them, the emerald python slowly smiled. Years passed. As Obinna approached his 18th birthday, the kingdom grew uneasy. The river became restless. Fishermen vanished. Boats returned empty. And every morning, the palace servants found puddles of river water inside the halls. Even during the dry season, The night before his birthday, Prince Obinna stood alone beside the palace balcony overlooking the river. The water shimmered beneath the moonlight. Then suddenly, the river began to whisper. Not with sound, but inside his mind. You were never theirs. Obinna clutched his chest in pain. For the first time in his life, he was afraid. The next morning, the kingdom gathered for a grand celebration. Musicians played drums across the city. Dancers filled the streets. Golden banners hung from every rooftop. Prince Obinna sat beside the king and queen in royal robes of black and gold. But dark clouds rolled across the sky. The wind suddenly stopped. Then every torch in the palace went out at once. The drums fell silent. Far in the distance, something roared. The river. A massive wave exploded through the city walls. People screamed as floodwaters tore through markets and homes. Boats crashed into buildings. Streets vanished beneath raging water. Lightning split the sky. The citizens ran toward the palace, the only place high enough to escape the flood. Among them was a woman in a blue robe clutching her baby tightly against her chest. Run, people shouted. The river is swallowing the city. Water surged behind them like a living beast. But when the terrified crowd reached the palace gates, they found them already open. No guards stood watch. No royal soldiers remained. Inside, the palace was dark and silent except for the sound of thunder and rising water. The people rushed into the throne room. Then suddenly, everyone stopped. A terrified silence filled the hall. Coiled upon the royal throne sat the emerald python. Massive. Ancient. Its glowing eyes burned like green fire in the darkness. And resting upon its head was the king's golden crown. The floodwater swirled around the throne as lightning flashed through broken windows. The python did not attack. It only watched them. Then the old village elders began to tremble. One dropped to his knees. Another whispered in horror. The river has returned for its prince. The people looked around desperately. Prince Obinna was gone. The king and queen were gone too. Only the python remained. And slowly, the elders understood the terrible truth. Obinna had never truly been human. The curse. The wicked heart. The ash. It had all been part of the river spirit's bargain. The emerald python was the true prince of old Zaria. And on the 18th year, the river always came to reclaim him. The storm raged until dawn. Then suddenly, the skies cleared. The floodwaters slowly receded back into the river. When the survivors finally searched the palace, they found no sign of the king, queen, or Prince Obinna. No bodies. No footprints. Nothing. Only black ash covering the throne room floor. And beside the throne lay a coil of enormous emerald skin, freshly shed in the night. The golden crown rested at its center, untouched. From that day forward, the people of old Zaria never spoke Prince Obinna's name after sunset. And whenever children wandered too close to the river, their parents warned them, never make deals with river spirits. Because somewhere beneath dark waters, the Prince of Ashes still waits for the 18th year.